Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I am Piglet here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker for the Nintendo Wii U, Nintendo 3DS, and of course Nintendo Switch. So, last time we actually did manage to start things off with the forms of these special episodes, levels like between level 1 to level 8. See, Fernando, that in the end, that we did manage to able to complete most of these objectives, well, pretty much all of it so far. So naturally, they'll have to come back into the forms of the previous levels to deal with, like, pretty much everything else. So, yeah, today for this episode is the fact that we're about to be continuing things on with the forms of the special episode, and here we can move on to level 9, Ground Capture at the Up and Down Terrace. See, Fernando, this inspires by, I would say level 10 from the episode 2 book, but the noticeable difference is obviously that we need to be able to like collect all 5 of those little crown icons, as you can see right there, so that way it gets the job done with the forms of that specific level objective here. So there's not much else you can tell. See, Fernando, today was actually forms of the 26th of March in 2019, and you remember how the fact that in yesterday's video that I really do apologize by the forms of the lack of uploading schedules once again, just because of how the fact that, well, oh crap, you gotta be kidding me. Anyway, because the only reason why is because every time when I was trying to do some editing software is concerned with making all these videos again, and sometimes though, specifically on the Wii U, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360 occasionally, and especially noticeable with the, you know, Nintendo Switch, that sometimes the actual processing when it comes to like uploading some of these videos and during that time, sometimes it takes a while to able to actually just finish up the entire loading process. So, as a result though, that mainly happens to me in my cases. So even then, yeah, that's as far as I can say. So anyway, basically, in this level, as I said before, that we need to grab every single of those crown icons, and I think I accidentally ignored the third and the final gem, but on the other hand though, I might as well come back for it. Well, after this particular level's been concluded, even though I would have appreciated if I was going to be able to do this with one singular go. Well, at least in terms of like one run-through of this level. So as you can see, the bonus objective here is the fact that we need to only use the switches for about 4 times. So Fernando, just like the ones and how it does it from that one level in, you know, in the crown capture on the touchstone, that you only have to like go for like 9 touches as far as I'm concerned. But even then though, in this particular level is the fact that we can only activate the switches for about 4 times. But since I already know about that, so even then though, that I will say is that that particular level can be easy at points, but the only thing that makes it difficult though is the fact that you have to be extremely cautious with these little spewing enemies coming from the ground. So that might be the only questionable thing I've actually decided to come across. So anyway, still, let's move on to, although before we move on to the next level actually, because again, you know how the fact that we're missing out on that third and final gem already, that we might as well able to come back to this level and hopefully trying to able to grab that from there. And what's cool about this is the fact that you can also manage to able to get those little crown icons if you throw the actual enemies themselves too. So yeah, it's a pretty nifty way to able to actually just to deal with all that, especially because of how the fact that if you about a distance away from able to actually get the crown icon, and then you would able to actually gather that from that little particular sequence worth noting for, and this time around though we'll go ahead and grab the third and final gem, and there we go. Now we just have to like either get to all the way from there, or you can able to actually do the fastest, quicker method by simply tossing that enemy right onto the forms of the crown capture icon. So even then though, that's the only ability I always love to do, because even then, it also same applies for the super gems after all. So even then though, it does work after all. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it with every single aspect on level 9. Now let's move on to level 10, Boo Spotting at Shy Guy Heights. So, basically based off from that one level from episode 1 book, Shy Guy Heights, but a noticeable difference is obviously we need to take down every single boost/ghost type enemies like peepers or boos or etc. But another noticeable difference is that there is no Shy Guys involved. So yeah, that makes it a little bit clearly obvious for that difference. And also, this is in nighttime themed, so because I think the only reason why it's now set into nighttime as opposed to daytime is because you know how the fact that with boos and ghosts or anything like that does not even survive on daylight, which to my knowledge by the forms of the actual Mario Party series of games, no idea why that Boo somehow survives, well as a playable character anyway, that he did manage to still survives throughout the daylight. See, even then though, that's a little bit odd, but even then though, that might be something more logic than that. At least unlike any forms of how it does it in Mario Party 9 and Mario Party 10, and I believe also by the forms of Mario Party Star Rush, from that particular minigame from House of Ghosts, that usually boos can be able to be wandering around during the nighttime. So clearly it makes it obvious there. So even then, let's go ahead and take down those boos here. And just like before from level 3, that we need to take down every single of those ghost enemies before you're able to light up every single fire. So I don't know if this is going to be the final time doing this, although until later on anyway, this will be the final time doing this, because even then, after that, we're going to be able to, well, to my knowledge for that such, is the fact that, well, we would expect it if we could able to actually go almost nearly towards the end of this particular special episode. Well, not all of it, mind you, because there's going to be one level that I will be mentioning about that whenever we get to tomorrow's video, and especially noticeable when we're able to, you know, just continue exploring for this. So, and especially noticeable how the fact that, well, we've only got about like 2 or 3 more days to go until the Yoshi's Crafted World for the Nintendo Switch will be released. Same applies by the forms of Kingdom Hearts The Story So Far compilation game, specifically in the UK country, because even then, they can finally now manage to experience the although the entire compilation to me though is very much identical to the actual like individual compilations basically from whenever they first released it in 2017, so there's nothing remarkably different about it. The only time it sort of feels a bit different is of course the different Barks art, and especially noticeable with the different back cover, but apart from that, the actual collection itself is basically identical to the forms of the previous release since 2017. Which, to me, I'm not going to go after this, because even then, I've already got the PlayStation 4 counterparts of 1.5 plus 2.5 collections, and, of course, the 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue collection. So, that makes it clearly obvious for that. So, anyways, though. So, again, it's not much else you can tell, other than the fact that yesterday, that PlayStation type of Direct called State of Play, they did manage to announce quite a few things, actually, even though I will admit though right away, that State of Play Direct thing for the PlayStation Direct, to me feels kind of unremarkable compared to the forms of how it does it from what I was used to with Nintendo Directs, just because of how the fact that they did actually announce some surprising announcements and all that stuff. But for me, the only interesting thing about this, you know, particular portion of State of Play is the fact that we got ourselves the Iron Man game for the virtual reality game, which is quite surprising because even then, I haven't really watched that too much of the forms of Iron Man series, to be honest, and especially noticeable how the fact that we got ourselves a superhero game on the virtual reality game, which kind of like how it did on the forms of the Batman got the game on the forms of the PlayStation virtual reality or anything like that, or PlayStation VR, but even then though, that I haven't really brought it yet, just because, well, I wasn't exactly ready for the forms of the PlayStation VR experience yet, although the only time I was really hyping for is of course Kingdom Hearts virtual reality experience. So, but of course that particular, I would say tech demo, well not so much for tech demo, but it's just more accurately the demonstration of the Kingdom Hearts game on the virtual reality game, that I don't know if that will be, like, I don't know when that's going to be released completely for the forms of every single world or 4 episodes they're actually going to be put it up with, but even then though, we'll find out soon enough. So even then though, we're actually done with level 10, so yeah, I gotta admit though, that level can be pretty difficult sometimes, just because you always get cornered by too many of those boos, and especially noticeable with peepers once in a while, But even then, aside from that, though, you should deal with this no problem. So, level 11, Flip Panel Panic. Oh, this is what I think it is, isn't it? With this little, Flip Panel Panic thing right there, it almost kind of reminds me of that one level from, you know, Super Mario 3D Land almost. But, rather than just able to actually, you know, trying to explore on things, so instead we have to, like, make our way to the other side of a platform, so you really can't turn back unless... Oh, god dang it. On second thought, oh yeah, let's just restart there. Because, thankfully though, I don't have to lose a life. That I can able to actually restart the, any level as much as I want this time around, which is a good thing. So, not digress. So, yeah, as you can tell, that the bonus objective in this level is the fact that we can't afford to get hit. See, for Nendo, because if you do get hit, you can either just lose a life, or you can actually just press the pausing menu onto the actual minus button until you're able to actually just select restart option. So that way, that'll be the best way to able to actually summarize with this particular mission. So, but in this particular level is the fact that obviously we need to deal with these little flip panels, as you can see there. And, especially noticeable for dodging those are a lot of, you know, spike enemies. Or to be more specifically, the rolling spiked balls. So, that's as far as I can say with this level. So, sometimes you have to be really, you know, be more accurate with the forms of the actual camera angles and stuff. Because if you really want to get all 3 gems, then obviously the camera control will able to work out for you. And especially noticeable, you really have to learn, or you really have to know about the actual, like, perspectives you have to go through. So even then, though, like, this part, for instance, that how the fact that I could not normally get to the 3rd and final gem by simply walking straight forward, because that flip panel acts like a wall, so naturally I have to find another way so that I need to able to go ahead and just, you know, get to the 3rd and final gem. So even then, though, that's pretty much it for this level. So, but it usually took me about 2 attempts on this level, though, which is not that bad, actually, compared to the forms of how it does it on my first attempt. That, it just goes completely new to me, though, so... But again, I think this is another one of those new types of levels that we actually stumbled across. So, that's pretty cool, though. So anyways, though, let's move on to level 12, Crown Capture at Pop-Up Prairie Town. So even then, though, I would say that the bonus objective in this mission, or this level, rather, is going to be, once again, do this level without taking any damage. So, what I'm going to do is the fact that I'm actually going to be going for the mission objective first, and then after that, whenever we go back to this level again, I thought that I might as well able to actually go through every single gems. So, I thought I was might able to do so. So, and obviously, the fact that if you couldn't tell from my video time length right there is going to be much more longer than it used to be, because just like in forms of how it does in the previous parts of this Let's Play, to be more specifically by the forms of episode 3, and especially noticeable with the forms of the bonus episode of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Well, not for my videos individually, but just more accurately though, the books. So because of that though, things should be able to be a little bit more, you know, not so much overstayed or welcome or anything like that, so... But of course, the only things you need to worry about though is of course Shy Guys, of course, because if you get hit, then chances are you have to, like, well, you have to restart the level until you're able to actually deal with the mission objective right there. So let's just go ahead and grab the first gem as it is, well, the 3rd gem to be more exact, and let's just go ahead and go there very, very quickly before the time runs out, and then that way we'll complete the level as normal. So. But of course, again, I'm doing the bonus objective, or the mission objective of this first, and then after that, then we'll move on to the actual gems themselves. So, yeah, that's as far as I can say about this. And I think this level is actually based off from, I would say from episode 1 book, but it forms within level 14, which is basically exactly the same thing, but we have to deal with buddy forms of, like, getting more, or, you know, getting all of the crown icons, if you couldn't tell. So anyways, before we get these gems, however, though, let's go ahead and farm those little coins, even though it's kind of redundant to able to actually do this, because obviously I've already maxed out my extra lives ever since the actual Let's Play of the game. So there's no need for able to do this, though, honestly, other than if I continuously dying plenty of times, then I would able to actually just farm those. Well, at least to be more specifically, coins and extra lives at the same time. So, but usually that's as far as I can think about it. So, anyways though, let's hit back in here, and as usual, we'll have to get the 2 final gems as we can. So, But again, we need to worry about these Shy Guys after all, because, well, you know. I'm quite surprised, we're almost nearly towards the end of the special episode book already, because I know for the fact that I've noticed some of these levels do heavily borrow from the past few stages ever since in the previous books in mind. Like, for instance, like book 1, 2, and 3, that I seem to already know any kind of level like this. Oh great, I have to restart the whole thing again, so that was a little bit annoying there, but that's okay, because I can just simply you know, go through all that stuff again. But again, that Shy Guys, that, you know, if they easily spotted you, then obviously they'll try to instantly go after you. Well, specifically if you go right in front of them, but as long as you're able to sneak behind them, or especially noticeable from either left or right or exponentially, then you would able to actually avoid those just fine. So even then, let's just go ahead and deal with the last crown icon. But first, let's get that Shy Guy out of the way first, so just in case he doesn't kill me in the process. And there we go. So now let's go ahead and leave the level, and we're about to be moving on to the next level. So even then though, that we're actually on level 13. So again, how quick it is. See even then though, that way we could able to go through all that. And let's move on to level 13, boost spotting on the freight train. So, oh boy, this level is actually based off on that. I believe it's based off on level 17 on episode 3 book. But the major difference is this time around though, I feel like, is the fact that this mission, or especially with this level, is actually way easier compared to the forms of the normal stage like this. Although it's because of how the fact that, well, first of all, you don't get cornered by the forms of too many of those zombie-like enemies right there. And second of all is the fact that we no longer gonna have to deal with the forms of like using Charging Chuck for the entire of the level itself. If you really want to go for every single gems, well, unless if you play this on the Wii U or the 3DS, or especially with this version in particular. But even then though, that I'm very glad that we got ourselves a not so much a frustration level, I feel like. So even then though, yeah, that's what I can really think about. So anyways though, I think this might actually be, this might actually be the last level that we actually going to be dealing with the forms of like the actual lighting up the fire type of mission objective. Because when we get to the later levels, that the actual mission objective will go completely different for one another. But even then, I'll mention more on that whenever we get to that point until, I would say in levels 15, and especially noticeable in level 17. So naturally speaking, that I'm also mention more on that until whenever we get to the point. So, anyways though, we got some more peepers there, but of course I've already just like got my clones being annihilated, or in this case by the forms of like almost let my double cherry clone of myself just immediately got killed by the forms of the peepers right there. So we have to able to like keep on re-grabbing the double cherry as much as we could. So yeah, that's as far as I can say about this here though. So, but again, just like before, they have to take care of the every single ghosts and what have you. But even then, I'm very glad that this level is actually very easy to me compared to the forms of how it does it in the normal version of this level. So although one thing I should probably mention about this right away is the fact that, oh god, okay, that's fine, because we can able to re-grab that again. So anyway though, another huge reason about this is the fact that one thing I should probably mention is the fact that I would say that most like in bonus episode book, that after when you complete the level, it doesn't allow you to able to deal with the hide and seek Pixel Toad minigame again. Although I think it's pretty obvious because we are going to be playing the new levels, or at some points we can able to actually replaying for the same levels again, but in the forms of a different objective or anything like that. By the way, you need to activate that little whistle of the train, by the way, until you're able to miss out those, you know, peepers from the actual funnel. So just in case you weren't able to actually miss out on that. And I believe this is the where... Oh, I missed that. Oh, god. Well, that's okay, though, because if you actually leave the area, then you would able to actually come back for it. The boosts, especially with any kind of ghost enemies, they seem to able to go disappear once in a while. So even then, though, it's a good thing that we can able to, like, complement him from that. So even then, let's just go ahead and turn around and go back to the very, you know, on the exact same area as before. But now let's go ahead and shine these little boos properly, even though sometimes it can be very tricky sometimes because of how the fact that sometimes you get cornered by the forms of too many boos on screen, and whilst in other times though, about the fact that, well, you know. So I think this should be the last part of the actual mission objective, and sure enough, we've lightened every single fire. See, Fernando, let's go ahead and leave. And of course gain our next crown, of course, so at the same time where we did leave the level, so yeah, this is the final time we're doing the forms of Lead All the Fire missions. So because of that, we're now moving on to, I would say, the next new level of this particular DLC. We have level 14, Spinning Star Maze. So again, this is new to me though, so I have no idea how this is gonna work, but even then though, that we'll see what happens there. But I still really like the music though, still, because even then it's so much more relaxing and peaceful at the same time. But I digress. So, I could assume that this level's gimmick, as you can see, is the fact that we need to get used to with the actual rotating level itself. And then every time you actually go either left or right, depends on what directions you'll be going, it leads you to that current direction you want to go to. So, whilst in other times though, that's, okay, this seems incredibly odd to me. Anyway, I don't know how you get that golden mushroom from at the top there, but if I'm guessing this correctly, this might be something to do with, like, once again grabbing all these coins again. Although, I would say is that this will be the final level to be able to actually, like, feature the objective to able to actually collect any kind of coins around. So even then though, that we'll mention more on that as soon as we're able to get ourselves a nice little super pickaxe. And it doesn't seem it doesn't take me anywhere, so even then though that it might be entirely useless though for that specific strategy. But nonetheless though, let's just go ahead and just, I might be curious to see how the fact that with the actual, like, although I think seem to say it takes me to the very end of the level, because as you see, I've managed to instantly get into the actual crown, but I don't seem to get every single gems, and especially noticeable with, oh, of course, 100 coins we need to collect. Hold on a second, guys. I just need to able to, like, do this in a successful attempt. Okay, quick edit right there, because I seem to now finally realize how to do this. That, obviously, the bonus objective, or the mission objective of this level is that we need to obviously collect about 100 coins and all that stuff. But, the biggest thing about this level, though, is the fact that this particular giant star wheel is actually a little bit bigger than it looks. So it could almost be like a maze almost, just because of how the fact that you have to like keep on twisting the actual camera between either the other side to another. So even then though, that might be the only thing I need to get accustomed to. But even then though, that at the same time though, I really do like the level though, for this case for this new level type anyway. But even then though, it feels kind of a little bit similar to how it does in most of those little rotating platform type levels like this. So, and I believe the ultimate purpose of the forms of the recommendation when it comes to the bonus objective or the mission objective of this level is that obviously we need to obviously obtain the golden mushroom before you're able to accomplish this. So, that might be the ultimate thing, but it's obviously on top right there onto that yellow rotating wheel. So, yeah, that's the only thing I need to able to ask for anyway, so. But anyway, so let's use the super pickaxe to able to access to the first gem, even though it says gem number 3 right there. But even then, no, don't worry, we'll find the other 2 by then. There's also another alternative pathway you can take, but honestly, for, you know, for the end of the level. But obviously I won't do that yet, because obviously we still have not gathered every single gems yet, and especially noticeable with, you know, the 100 coins mission objective right there. So hopefully we'll get a chance by then. So, yeah. So anyways, another thing I should probably explain about this, potentially speaking, about the fact that we know with the forms of, like, the actual, like, Let's Plays coming up soon. Like, for instance, how the fact that we're about to be doing a proper redo Let's Play of Pac-Man World 1 for the PlayStation, and at the same time that we might actually do a double Namco crossover Let's Plays, which there are obviously Pac-Man World 1 for the PlayStation, and Klonoa Daughter Phantom Isle also for the PlayStation 1. Even though you guys are probably thinking about, aren't you going to do one version of Klonoa Daughter Phantom Isle, or both versions? Well, I would seem to say I'm actually going to be doing the PlayStation 1 version first, and then the Wii remake, you know, the redo Let's Play of the Wii version of Klonoa afterwards, just because, well, they've both played exactly the same game, but the noticeable difference is that they add new stuff onto the Wii version as opposed to how it does it on the original PlayStation version. So, that's why we decided to figure that out, and we could able to actually just do a different system for once, for between, you know, Pac-Man World 1, proper redo Let's Play or something like that, or the actual Let's Play of the game, and then at the same time that doing Klonoa Daughter Phantomile for the PlayStation 1, is that I'm gonna do those two Let's Plays in a daily day system. Like, for instance, spoiler alert for those of you who might be a little bit interested with this, although I'm probably not gonna mention more things too much about it, because well, they both are going to be on, you know, on screen at some point in May. So even then, though, hopefully we'll get a chance from there. So, oh god, this part can be tricky because that golden mushroom from the top there is usually be directly upwards from there. But that's okay, because if you accidentally fell off on the forms of the actual, like, star wheel, that's okay though, because you can just essentially just go back into the actual center part of the actual star wheel, and then that way you can able to actually lead you to the actual crown itself. So even then though, hopefully we can able to get that done. So yeah, that's as far as I can say about it here. So again, not much to tell here, so other than that, there's not much else you can say. So anyways, let's go ahead and just hop onto this little rotating red stuff right there. Even though that's, I have no idea where I'm gonna go right there, because at the moment right about now, that I've seemed to got lost in this place for some reason. It's only because of how the fact that, well, you know, you have to get used to with the forms of, like, the tilting, star maze as far as I'm concerned, and, yeah, you just have to figure it out. And also you have to be very careful on the bottom section, as you can see there. Well, to be more specifically, the green area of, the actual rotating maze thing. That, because of that though, these fuzzies will go all around in a full circle. So even then though, we have to figure out very, very carefully before we're able to don't get hit by any of these. So, generally speaking, that's just the only potentially be the hardest part about the level, I feel like. But even then, although thankfully though, the bonus objective of this level is the fact that we obviously have to collect coins instead of, like, you know, finish the level without getting hit or anything like that. Well, it wasn't until whenever we get to level 17 that we'll mention more details onto that whenever we get to that level. So even then though, let's go ahead and use that super pickaxe to able to finish off the level, and we'll be good to go. So even then though, with all this 100 coins that we've gathered, and especially noticeable with, you know, the 3 super gems that we've actually got, that way we can now finally complete it, the actual stage itself. So even then though, and also we got ourselves a golden envelope here, which it takes you back to the forms of the Dragoon's Gold Rush. So even then I probably won't show it off again, because obviously I've already maxed out my lives counter right here. So anyways though, move on to level 15, Boo Spotting at Moltra Volta Mayhem, which is based off from level 10 from episode 3 book. So the obviously noticeable difference is that obviously this is at night time, and especially noticeable how the fact that we can now utilize only two Captain Toads, or it depends on if you actually have your 2-player co-op with you. You can either take control of Toadette, or especially noticeable with, Captain Toad, specifically the purple variation itself as well. So, but generally speaking, that this level will always encourages you to able to use the double cherry, or the actual, like, the co-op buddy. Well, not just the assist mode, because even then, all it does is just basically just acts like a second pointer, but if you press the fire button or the fire turnip button, then you would able to actually deal out loads of kinds of enemies as possible. So that might be the only solution here. Although the only thing about this level though is that much like any forms of how it does it on the original Multivita Mayhem level from episode 3 book, in level 10, that we need to utilize those kinds of platforms before you continue. So, especially noticeable if you really want to gather all 3 of those gems. So, and generally speaking, when it comes to the bonus objective of this level right there, well, obviously we don't have to worry about the forms of like lighting up every single fires at this point now. But I will say is that the bonus objective might be a bit difficult at first. Most likely because this is actually first time playing this stage, obviously. And second of all, I have no idea what the bonus objective is going to be. But until whenever we get to the next 2 levels, well, I'm probably not going to do the true final level yet, until tomorrow anyway, because I will mention more on that later. Because even then, we'll go ahead and just save up for later. So anyways, let's go ahead and pull that out to get, of course, a super mushroom, of course. And let's see where we can go up into that staircase. And sure enough, we would able to reveal there was going to be some, what else? Some more boos here. So, yeah, with these little, pedestals right there, with these little, gray pedestals right there, this actually represents that you would able to get super gems from. So, yeah, that's as far as we can able to think about. So anyways, let's take care of these big boos for now. And sure enough, we're able to get our second gem. And then, if you ever think about it, that the third and final gem is actually not that hard to find. But, if we go over here, then not only do we get ourselves 1 or 2 big boos, but also 5 more of them. So that's 7 of those each. Oh, jeez. This gets pretty chaotic at points. But anyways, if we pull that out, then obviously we get an extra life. Which, again, no need for that for me, because obviously I've already got maxed out lives as much as I could. So, anyways, so I believe we're almost nearly towards the end, fundamentally though, so let's go ahead and take care of these little, zombie-like creatures, and, oh gosh, big boo on sight. Ah, shoot. I could go for that little, gem right there, but obviously I've already got cornered by them, so, that's okay though, because again, the double cherry instantly respawns after when you're able to, like, fail so many attempts to able to keep your, clone of yourself alive, so... yeah, that's a little bit more far from potentials from this point here. So, anyway, though, aside from all that, this is where the actual point where that until whenever we get to the next level, that I would say that, well, we're not going to mention more on that until whenever we get to it at this point. But naturally, though, we've actually got ourselves all of the gems now. So, and I believe we got ourselves every single gems to able to actually access to the true final level, which we're not going to mention more on that too much, because obviously that we're getting slowly towards the end of this particular game so far. So it can be pretty close though towards, but even then though, hopefully guaranteed to able to finish up the entire Let's Play of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker at some point in this Wednesday. So even then, that way we can get enough time to do so. And then, potentially after this, that I would say that definitely might still need to get back into Yoshi's Woolly World before Yoshi's Crafted World is about to be released for the Nintendo Switch. But the only thing I'm not exactly unsure of is the fact that they might actually bring us to file selections in Yoshi's Crafted World. But even then, we might as well find out until the actual game comes around for, you know, as I said, for about 3 or 2 more days. So, anyways though, let's go ahead and get our next crown here, and we are good to go for this point. So even then though, that was it. And I believe the bonus objective of the mission objective in this level is that we need to defeat all of the big boos. So, but unfortunately I didn't get a chance to do that though, so I'm also able to come back for it at some point in the next video, because even then I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So anyways, let's move on to level 16, Wingo's Double Trouble. So it looks like Wingo, he's not giving up yet. And in this level we need to acquire about 35 of those gems specifically before you get to this particular boss. So, now things seem to say that this might actually be the true final boss of the game. Because, generally speaking, first of all, we don't have to worry about climbing onto this little tower section anymore. So instead, you instantly get into the forms of the clear pipe cannon, and then that way it will launch you to the forms of the absolute true final battle with Wingo here. But the difference is this time around though is the fact that he got himself his duplicate of himself, but it's clearly obvious to see what's the difference here. That if you see Wingo that wears the actual power star on the actual necklace on it, this actually represents he's actually real. But if he doesn't have the power star onto the necklace, however though, this actually represents fake. So, and I believe, seem to say, that this is actually a lot more difficult than the forms of the previous 2 Wingo battles encounters, because the only thing about this is the fact that we have to deal with those two Wingos at the same time, but at the same time though, they're doing all kinds of different attacks. Like, for instance, like, you know, trying to, like, send down all these, veggies, specifically the giant veggies at the same time. So, although generally it's exactly the same boss fight as the likes of from before, although this boss kind of reminds me of the forms of that particular boss fight from Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, that you can able to actually deal with the double tasks, which you can able to do one task to the other. So even then, it's kind of like the similar thing here, but obviously you can't jump, obviously, and there is no way you can able to actually fall. You really can't afford to fall off, and as a result, it's actually a lot more difficult of a final boss. I mean, to me, that's more like it, because even then, that back in the previous two fights of Wingo, that it might be pretty easy at points, but I was quite surprised about the fact that he doesn't do that, lightning shock attack. The only time he does that, though, is to able to get rid of the forms of the actual, like, barriers and stuff. So even then, like, protecting you from not falling, and I died as a result. So, hey. But that's okay, though, because I just instantly respawn from here until we're able to actually make our way there faster. So, and I believe this is one of those levels also, is the fact that this is the only level that does not feature those 3 gems, because obviously we're dealing with a boss fight after all. Which, you know, kind of like how we did in the forms of, like, in some of these levels from the episode's bonus episode book. So it's like, for example, the Toad Brigade missions, and especially noticeable with the forms of the Mummy Me stages. So, and the same applies by the forms of the Mummy Me Maze Forever from the actual, like, the true final level without the DLC content. Well, to be more specifically, by the forms of the Wii U / the 3DS version, because I said this before that the 3DS version does not able to contain the DLC stages after all. So, but I digress. So yeah, speaking of the bonus mission in the forms of like or the mission objective in this particular boss fight or even the level itself, is that you really have to keep an eye out with the forms of the real version of the Wingo boss fight. And then if you've done so, then by simply able to toss that giant turnip right at him, then you weren't able to count as a hit. If you accidentally toss the actual giant turnip right in front of the forms of the fake version of the Wingo, your objective will be failed. So because of that, well, you only have to like deal with it by the forms of like just the real version of Wingo. Because if you've done so already, then you weren't able to deal with this boss fight in particular, no problem. So, but sometimes it can be very tricky to toss those little turnips sometimes, because sometimes he keeps on like teleporting all over the place sometimes, which I'm gonna admit to though right away, that it might be a little bit annoying in some cases, but apart from that though, although kind of thinking about it though, is the fact that another thing is worth mentioning though, is the fact that I don't really think that this level doesn't feature any coins at all, so even then though, that might be a little bit odd in considering, so even then though, that, yeah. But again, concentrate on that Wingo that has a power star, the true real power star onto his necklace, but don't focusing on the forms of the, let's just say the grey star necklace, because that counts as a fake. Although I do think it's pretty obvious at this point, because even then, I already know about the forms of the the Wingo boss fight ever since twice, but once you've done so already, just like before, 3 hits and he's done for good. And I believe this is the final time we're going to be seeing him, so farewell to Wingo, as far as the actual true villain. And once in a while, the actual crown itself will start to able to flying about, but this time around though, it doesn't go buried underneath the actual gold, unlike in the forms of how it does it where, you know, the actual power star and Toadette got stuck in the actual, like, buried off, treasure, and then naturally though, you can able to actually just release Toadette out of it, and then you can able to obtain the power star with ease. So, there we go, that's it for level 16. But if you think your journey was actually over, well, it turns out there is 2 last levels we can deal with. The hunt continues. So here we go with level 17, Crown Capture in Wandering Woods. Now I think this is the point where the game starts to get really difficult and during at the very end. And I think this is actually the final time we're going to be doing crown capturing missions, because even then, just like last time, we need to obtain 5 of those crown icons, obviously, until we're able to finish off the main level. So, of course I got my extra life back after that Despicable Death on, you know, in a Wingo's Double Trouble. So hopefully we should be able to make it count from there. And I suggest you're able to take down these Peeper Ghosts first before you're able to start this, because if you don't, well, you'll might as well able to see how this will go. So even then, let's go ahead and obtain the first crown icon, and at the same time, we need to deal with the forms of like the Boo hunting segments once in a while. But I will say is that out of all the actual crown capturing level like this one is actually a lot more difficult than the forms of like the previous levels like this. I think the only reason being for that is because, well, although kind of thinking about it though, is the fact that this level is actually based off from episode 2 book, and I believe that was actually based off from level 14. But the obviously noticeable difference is that obviously we need to obtain these little crown tokens, so that's pretty obvious there. Now it gets pretty tricky and difficult later on if you really want to go through like every single super gems. Even though I think it's safe to say this is actually the final level that we can able to grab every single of those gems, because after this level, well, we might actually come across into something completely familiar to you. Even though I will mention more on that later. Oh gosh, I got cornered. Oh wait, no, wait. I was really hoping for that, but obviously, I'm dead already. But that's okay though, because just like in the forms of the actual main game of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, if you accidentally died on the actual main level, then you're still able to keep your gems as it is. So even then though, it's a good thing we did sort of done this, but we could do it with the forms of like just only one attempt or two, if more, just because of how the fact that while I accidentally died, due to the forms of like I was got cornered by the forms of the big Boos, and you name it. So, definitely a little bit more trickier than the forms of in any other crown capturing levels, basically, because you have to deal with, like... Although, the only thing is kind of worth mentioning, though, is the fact that if you accidentally do not get every single of those crown items in time, what happens is that those Boos are able to actually respawn from time to time. And even then, though, like, for instance, for example, I've got 3 of those crown tokens, and then after time is up, it goes all the way back to the beginning, but then every once in a while, that these Boos are actually respawning. So even then, though, that might be the only, minor nitpicking at this point for this point, folks, but even then, though, that's the only besides the point right there. So, yeah, definitely a little bit more harder level when it comes to the crown capturing level, basically. So, at least to me, though, anyway. But I digress though, so there's not much else I can really talk about this at this point. So even then though, we're getting quite close towards the end of this entire Let's Play of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, obviously. So even then, after this, then we can able to move on to the true final level of the forms of the actual game. Although there's one noticeable thing, as one pointing out, I probably should able to do the mission objective on level 15 first before I jump into the true final level. So that's pretty much it, folks. So join me next time on Let's Play Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. It's going to be the definition of the true finale of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, specifically the DLC playthrough, that we're about to be going through the true final level and also complete the mission objective in level 15. So see you guys then. Later, fellas.